Hello there, I'm Brenda Hector, and this is Scale Her Up. I'm delighted to have Denise Pitot with me from Action Coach today. Hello, Denise. Thank you for joining
Hi,
me.
hi, Brenda. Thanks so much for having me on your podcast. I'm thrilled to be here.
So, regular listeners, those that are paying attention will know that I'm also from Action Coach. So, I'm a franchisee, and you're an employee of the Action Coach organization. But you were just telling me before we started recording that you're also used to be a business owner. So let's just have a bit of a brief introduction to Denise and what got you to this point working with Action Coach.
Oh, thank you. Obviously, I love talking about my career because it's been so diverse. But my most recent job or business that I owned was Mauritius Business Network, and that was on a little island called Mauritius, off the coast of Africa, and I had that for 5 years. But interestingly, when I was still in South Africa, I was in South Africa 6 years prior to moving to Mauritius, and I grew up my whole life in South Africa, but I had an action coach when I was in South Africa. So that's how I was initially introduced to Action Coach. Absolutely loved Action Coach principles and what we teach people, and have always had a very close affinity to Action Coach. And when my coach knew I was coming to the UK, he introduced me to the franchisors. And that's how I got my job. So that's how I came to be with Action Coach now, but on the receiving end of a salary as opposed to being a business owner.
Fantastic. So just yeah, a shameless plug on my part, but can you talk a little bit about the benefits that you got from having an action coach, business coach working with you in your business?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm always happy to speak about my coach. Action Coach for me teaches a series of principles, business principles. And what I love about Action Coach is that they're simple to follow and they can be implemented in any business. So it's the way I look at it is like it's the chassis of a car, and when you're in business, if you have the right chassis, you can put any top on it, it kind of goes with any business. Um, so the principles that I learned with my action coach, I could apply regardless of where I was and what business I owned. And I would go back to my notes over and over and over again, and I would go to my coach repeatedly for advice and information. And so, yeah, I've always just loved what Action Coach teaches. I heard Brad Sugars speaking in Durban. Oh my goodness, it must be like 17 years ago. And that was my first introduction to Brad, and what he teaches. And yeah, I loved that first engagement. I loved that first interaction, and that just set me off with Action Coach going forward. Yeah, so that's what I would say would be my benefit.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, as you know, Scale Her Up is about women in business. So, what were the challenges that you faced as an entrepreneur? And actually, I'm guessing maybe in different countries. What the cha are the challenges different? Are they the same as a female entrepreneur?
I think that the challenges quite possibly are different. Um, in Mauritius, it was quite a male dominated business. In Mauritius is quite male dominated. Having said that, as an expat, I didn't come across the same challenges that other people potentially came across. And I don't know if that's partly because I just don't accept them. I think women are amazing and can achieve anything if we put our mind to it. And I don't want to fall back on the fact that I'm a woman. I use that to my advantage. Does that make sense? Rather than seeing that, yeah, as a negative or as a holding me back, I rather play to it as a strength. But I'm not saying that some people don't struggle because they are women. So I don't want to take away from anyone who is struggling being a woman in business and struggling to get past a male-dominated environment. But me, myself, I choose not to recognize that I have an obstacle in that. And I rather see that as a benefit. And I will look for ways to use that to my advantage so that I
love
can.
that. I love that mindset. It's rather than seeing a challenge, see an opportunity.
Yeah, that's exactly it. But I don't want anybody to feel like I'm knocking their, if it's an obstacle for them, well, that's their journey. I've chosen not to make it mine. Is that the reason why I didn't see it as an obstacle in Mauritius? I don't know, because a lot of people in Mauritius struggle with it being a male-dominated environment. Was it because I'm an expat that it made it easier for me? Maybe. But regardless, I always choose to look at obstacles as opportunities in life in general. So, because what's the point in not? What is the point in being held back by something?
What's
By a
coming to
belief?
mind is the Action Coach generalized principle, the point of power. So
Yeah,
at any point you can choose to be above or below the point of power, and if we're above, we take ownership, accountability, and responsibility, and if we're below, it's blame, excuses, and denial. So
exactly. And that doesn't serve anyone. You know,
no.
that's not going to serve you. So why would you choose to be in that position? But yes, sometimes we have to fight harder. So perhaps for some people in some positions, being a woman is harder, and we have to work harder. We have to fight more. We have to get past those belief systems of other people. But it shouldn't prevent us. It should just make us want it more.
Oh, it does for me. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and lots of people that I've been talking to as well. So what would be your piece of advice for a woman in business? What would you know, I don't know if I know you've not been in the UK long, so you're maybe not familiar with the Rose Review. The Rose Review of Female Entrepreneurship was, I think it was 2018. There's been an update since then, but it was released in 2018, and it says that only 1 in 3 entrepreneurs in the UK are female, and men are 5 times more likely to scale their business up to over 1 million in turnover than women are. And if we did, it would add 250 billion to the UK economy. So what can we do to improve those numbers and encourage more women into business?
I think from my perspective, there is absolutely nothing holding you back, male, female, young, old. It doesn't matter. If you want to do something, you can. It's a matter of wanting to and being determined to. And if we can instill this in our children, and we can encourage our children to go out there and be successful, knowing that they will be successful, arming them with the information that they need to be able to achieve whatever they want to achieve. That would be my advice, is when we give that information to our children, it reiterates it for us as well, and it becomes a belief for ourselves as well. So the children are the future. So if we can get the children motivated and believing in themselves, and in the process, we believe it ourselves and achieve more, then the sky's the limit for everyone. And yeah, I think we also need to be teaching our boy children to share the load. I believe that it is much better today than it used to be, but I think that's probably one of the reasons that it holds a lot of women back from being successful or more successful business owners, is because there's still a lot of pressure at home. It's not because we can't do it, but we're constantly juggling the responsibilities. So, like I said earlier, we just need to work harder and smarter and believe that we can. But I think that if we can spread the load a little bit, then we can absolutely be successful, and as successful as we want to be.
I totally agree. I totally agree. Yeah. And actually it's mentioned in the Rose Review that you know, sharing the load and having that equality is going to make a difference. And you know, the access to the right childcare and things like that, access to funding for female founders, and the visibility of entrepreneurship as a career pathway, which takes us to why I invited you in the first place. My part of creating the podcast was to create that awareness that entrepreneurship is a career pathway for women, and to share people's experiences so that other women can listen or watch and think, oh, well, if she can do it, maybe I can do it too. And I interviewed somebody last week, and when I asked the question about what can we do, how can we make a difference, she says, we've got to get in there young. We've got to talk to people as young as possible and let them know that running your own business is an option.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, would you like to share now, Denise, what your role is within Action Coach now?
I would love to share what my role is an action coach, because I'm absolutely passionate about Action Coach Foundation. Action Coach Foundation is a not-for-profit. It's a company that teaches 12 to 22-year-olds to be business owners. So if there are young people who have an entrepreneurial mindset, then they are the people that we want to put through this, what we call the YES program, the Young Entrepreneur Smart Start program. So it's free training for young people to become business owners. We start at the age of 12, and 12 is very young. I've got a daughter who's almost 12, and I'm actually really excited because I'm going to be putting her on a course just in the next couple of months. We've got one starting in September, and I'm interested to see how she responds to it, because she definitely has an entrepreneurial mindset. And I've always thought 12 is quite young, and it's interesting. So in your comment, Brenda, you mentioned we need to start young. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what the impact of that is on a 12-year-old. So our training is from 12 to 22, and we basically take young people through mindset. So getting them into the right headspace to be entrepreneurs, because, well, you well know how difficult it is to be in business. We've got to believe, we've got to know where we want to go, we've got to have that vision. So we'll take them through that, getting their heads into the right space, developing a vision board. We'll go into more of the business basics, where they'll even do a business plan. And we finish off with a video pitch. So they're ready to go and ask for funding if that's what they need to do to get their businesses started. So I'd like to think that starting from so young, we're going to have some wonderful, creative, maybe not very practical business ideas, but that's wonderful because we're going to get them while they're all excited and young and enthusiastic, and we're going to be able to mold them. And who knows, some of those business ideas might very well be able to turn into fantastic businesses in the future. Yeah, so that's what we're doing as the Action Coach Foundation.
So how are we targeting these? How are we finding these young people that want to take part? I mean, do they already know that that entrepreneurship's something they want to do, or what are you finding is the best way to get in there, or do we know yet?
Honestly, we don't know yet. We're still very new in the program. But my thinking is that we go to the schools and we just open it up to any child that wants to participate. Because the more children, even if they don't know that they want to be business owners, it just makes them think differently. It allows them to believe that they could, if they wanted to be a business owner. And some of them may very well be motivated to become business owners. Yeah, so everyone's invited to participate. And my thinking is that we need to take this to schools. We need to take this to places where young people congregate. So, you know, whether that's youth groups, whether that is scouts groups, and or whether it's school groups, whether it's hubs that have like youth hubs, wherever young people congregate. If we can get those facilities or those institutions or those schools, get them involved, that's what we need. And we want to do that throughout the whole of the UK.
And the just if somebody's listening and they know of a young person, how would they sign up?
You know, the best way, whether it's a young person or even a school that wants to reach out to me, is probably on my email. So yeah, that's probably the easiest way. I don't know if there's a facility to put my email address.
I will put your email address in the show notes for this episode. So I'm just making a note of that. So we'll do that.
That's perfect, because my surname's a little bit tricky. It's a French pronunciation. But yeah, if they email me, if they're interested, I can send them all the information of the upcoming courses. And if there are schools or bodies that would like to get involved, then I can communicate with them directly and we can set up a cohort for themselves. I even think if there are, I hope that there are some really successful business women that listen to this podcast that would like to put sponsor a cohort to go through. That would be amazing, and we can call it your business name, you know, and yeah, let's see how many children we can educate to be business owners and see what kind of an impact we can have on their futures, and of course then the future economy of the UK, because it all helps.
And it's not just sponsorship or donations, and it's not just people like you and I delivering the program to the kids. We're also looking for facilitators. Is that the right term? Yeah.
Yes.
So
yes,
anyone who's listening that want or watching and feels like that's something that they would like to get involved in and support groups of young people to learn about business and learn about entrepreneurship. Is that the same through your email address? Just the same?
Yes, I think it's the easiest for now, Brenda, if they just communicate with me directly on email, and then we can see which is the best route for them to follow. You know, the schools would be fantastic, because then we could put every single child in the school through the program if they're over the age of 12 or year 7, or you know, just starting secondary school. We can put them through the program, and that would be amazing, because that would make such a difference. That would make such a difference to the numbers that we're able to educate, and such a difference to the number of students that would have that confidence to go out and start their own business, and just give them opportunities when they leave school. It doesn't have to be that they have to be a doctor or a lawyer. They can go out and put an idea into practice, and they'll be well equipped. And if they decide not to be business owners, well, then they've still learned mindset, which is so important. They've still learned budgeting, which is so important. They've still learned about investing, which is so important. So it's not just business owners or potential business owners that will benefit. everybody will benefit by going through this course. So I really would recommend, if you have a child that's between the ages of 12 and 22, that you get them registered. And if you have a school, that you make contact with me so that we can put a cohort together.
It's also worth mentioning that the kids might think that they want to, like for my daughter, for example, wants to be a vet. So she's going down that route. She's you know, very academic, but actually the opportunity to have her own practice and run her own business at the end of that. So we don't even think about where the person that I was speaking to last week that said that we need to get in early. She's a partner in a law firm, so she wanted to do law, and then now she's become a partner, and she's got all the responsibility of being in charge of the business, which is not something that we always, you know, we don't really think of that when we think about a career path. So opening that up to get people to thinking, well, I'm going to go down that career path, but I could have the opportunities to have my own business, and then what that brings by opening up their career again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because, you know, when you go to university and you learn to be a whatever, you don't always learn how to be a business owner in that process. And yet whether
as well, you know,
tradespeople as well, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. I mean, if you're a hairdresser, you learn to cut hair, you don't learn to be a business owner.
Yeah, a
And
joiner,
yet,
an electrician, or, you know, we've got a very successful coach in England there, who was a client of Action Coach with his electrician's business before he became a coach with Action Coach. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunity with yeah, it doesn't need to be university.
No, absolutely not.
Either.
No, you're right. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. Whatever it is that you're doing, we become proficient at the operational aspect of that. And not much thought is given to whether we can be business owners, you know, and it's so different, right? I mean, you see that all the time in Action Coach, because you know, you have to learn how to be a business owner. So where you're working with adults, we're just preparing them as young people.
But wouldn't it be so much easier for us if this has been in their mind from a young age, rather than to sort of introduce the excuse me, the principles and the mindset of a business owner later on.
Absolutely. That it will, and hopefully it'll set them on a really successful path. And then, of course, if they're implementing the principles, it'll just get better and better. Because that's exactly, I mean, that's why I love Action Coach, because you can, doesn't matter how small or how big your business is, you can adapt, or you can use the principles in your business to grow your business. So they can certainly do it. I mean, my daughter's business now is, she's just started a little, you know, in the holidays, they've started a little business going from door to door, doing little odd jobs for some of the old people in the area, which is so sweet. And I would love to see her now applying the principles of business to her little business, and see how that makes her mind work and how it makes a difference to her business. It's going to be an interesting project to watch.
Oh, I'm looking forward to hearing how that develops. It's brilliant. I think you were telling us that she's got a lovely little name for her business, has she?
Yes, the Little Elves.
Brilliant.
The Little Elves, and it's two little girls in the neighborhood, so they are supporting one another and encouraging one another, and yeah, you know, the old ladies love them. And love to watch them pulling out weeds and feeding their animals, or whatever, you know. Anyway, it is going to be interesting to see how it unfolds and how it grows and morphs as they get older as well.
Fantastic. So, and yeah, I'm looking forward to getting involved and hopefully getting a cohort coming through the Yes programme up here in Aberdeen soon. So
yes, I hope so too. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
and it should snowball. We're at the thin end
Yeah.
of the wedge here, just getting started. So yeah.
Absolutely. So let's get as many young people onto these cohorts that we've got going. I've got 2 starting in September. So maybe we just need to book a date for you, Brenda, and we'll just put something in the diary and let's get Aberdeen, let's get all the young people in Aberdeen and your surrounding areas booked onto your cohort. And that'll make 3 cohorts happening around the UK, and that'll be a really good start.
So, excuse me, I'm just thinking about the other questions that I usually ask. It's very relevant for you when we're talking about young people. If you could go back to your 18-year-old self, Denise, what piece of advice would you give her?
Oh my goodness. When I was 18, I think when I was 18, I had an opportunity to, I'm a dancer. So I started teaching aerobics and dancing when I was 16 years old. And then I started sewing leotards and selling leotards. When I was 18, I got an opportunity to go and dance at a casino, a big casino in South Africa. Well, it was actually outside of South Africa, but anyway, in the borders of South Africa. And I didn't, because I had a boyfriend and I didn't want to leave my boyfriend. So I think maybe I think maybe I would say something along the lines of, you need to go, you know, I suppose I can't really say that there's plenty of boys out there, but there are, you know. But you know, when you get offered a job or something that just moves you and you think would be a fantastic opportunity, I think you need to really give it some serious thought and not just brush it off for a boyfriend.
I love it. What I'm hearing is do it for you, not for anyone else.
Yeah. That's probably that would be a fair representation. Yeah. I don't believe in regret, so I don't have any regret not having done it. But I just wonder, it was such an amazing opportunity. And actually, another friend of mine got an opportunity to dance on a ship, and she left her boyfriend. And when she came back after dancing on the ship, she got married to her boyfriend. So, you know, they got together again. If it's meant to be, it will. But it's hard to make that decision because you know, I was 18, I was in love, you know, and I thought that was, you know, and there was a fair amount of pressure. Not everybody my age felt it, but I felt that there was a certain amount of pressure to get married and settle and, you know, have a family and sort of set your life path. That I didn't want to give that up. But I think it would have been really a fantastic opportunity to go and dance for a couple of years.
I'm just assuming that you're not with that boyfriend, that didn't last, did it?
No, well, we got married and I did have 2 children, yeah, and but then the marriage didn't last. But yeah. But yeah, I think I just think that sometimes we need to maybe be a little bit selfish in terms of what we want to achieve and not what society expects of us. And
I think that's very good advice, whether you're 18, 20,
or 51.
30, 40, 50, whatever. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's probably something that most of us only realize the older we get.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it is hard. It's hard to see that. I mean, because I watch it in my children, and you can see how, everything seems like it's so far off. Everything seems like what's happening now is most important, and that we can't can't think in years to come. You know, when I got divorced, I thought that was the end of my life. I thought that was like I was going to be a divorcee for the rest of my life, you know. And I remember meeting somebody on an airplane, and she had been divorced for 10 years. She'd remarried and she had children. And I remember listening to that and thinking, oh my gosh, yeah, there is life after. You know, it's not like whatever happens to us, whatever's happening at the moment in our lives is not the end of everything. It's potentially the start of something else. We just have to make that happen. So yeah, so don't think just because you're in something that you've got to stay doing whatever it is because society or because you feel like that's it. I mean, there's always opportunities and there's always new things and there's always excitement. We just have to find it and reach for it and go for it.
And look at you, you're very inspiring, and you've not mentioned it. You know, you've just recently moved to the UK to start a new job without your family, and then your family have followed you. You know, so here you are, another new start. There's another new future ahead of you.
Absolutely. I've never been scared of a challenge. I've never been scared of change. I like to think of change as something that's going to grow you and mold you. And there's so many opportunities when we change something. You know, if we stay where we are and stay doing what we're doing, you know, we know it. We know what's going to happen. But when we embrace something different, it comes with a whole lot of something exciting potentially. And I do believe that your mindset has so much to do with that as well. You know, so many people have said to me, Denise, I don't know how you did it. I don't know how you could move, you know, to another country on your own and, you know, and set everything up. And it hasn't, well, maybe when I got on the plane initially 6 months ago, maybe it was, you know, a little bit daunting. But it was an adventure. And landing here, I lived in Shropshire for a little while. I lived in Leicestershire for a little while. And then I found my way to the Wirral. And, you know, I've just seen so much, and I've learned so much. I've met so many amazing people. I mean, Brenda, we were at BizX together. We met some incredible celebrities, you know, at BizX. And I would not have done that if I hadn't taken that chance and got on the plane. I wouldn't have met you. And I certainly wouldn't be talking on your podcast now.
Yeah, it's a fantastic mindset that you've got there. I just love it. And whether any of the listeners don't get anything from our talk about the Young Entrepreneur Smart Start program, they're bound to get something from just listening to you're an inspiration and an absolute pleasure to have had on the Scale podcast. Thank you so much, Denise.
Thank you, Brenda. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about the YES program, and I hope that we do inspire lots of young people to want to sign up to do it. It's absolutely free, so what's stopping them?
Absolutely.
It's just a decision.
It's been a real pleasure to get to know a bit more about Denise as well. I look forward to building our friendship through Action Coach conferences and whatever as the years go on. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. Thanks a lot. Bye.